Nothing seems like the right thing to do. Won't you hear this song? And won't you sing it too? I'll write the words if you'll write the tune. And I ain't lying, and I ain't joking. I've learned through you and the truth you've spoken. Though you've seen hell, it's sure certain you might break, but you're not broken. Sometimes we take the long way home, but I promise you, you won't walk it alone. See the fight that you've already shown. Know that you just have to keep on going. I ain't lying, and I ain't joking. I've learned through you and the truth you've spoken. And though you've seen hell, it's surely certain you might break, but you're not broken. It might take a little while to break Alcatraz with just a file. Put all that behind you in a pile and walk every inch of that last lonely mile. I ain't lying, no, I ain't joking. I've learned through you and the truth you've spoken. Though you've seen hell, it's sure certain you might break, but you're not broken. You might break, but you're not broken. You might break, but you're not broken. Thank you. I'm going to prepare for the next song real quick. My friend Jason Bible wrote that song. Some of you may know Jason. He plays in the Trainwrecks. I tell people he is the Trainwreck. He's a good buddy of mine. I love Jason. So he played that song for me not long ago, and I said, I'll play that in church. Well, are we awake and alert? Yeah. There's a lot of energy in here. Reverend Dale, I want to send you blessings, Reverend Dale. I know you're going to watch this on Facebook, so hello. And hello to everybody else that's watching out on Facebook land. We have a lot of people that watch us online, so we got to start saying hey to them. So today, as Reverend Dale has gone, he asked me to give the message. I told him that I wanted to share with you guys the presentation that I recently did at Unity Village for my Licensed Unity Teacher program. Okay, so what you do, you go out there and you take this big written test, and then you have to give a presentation. And so each one of the students is assigned a power, and you're supposed to, you give a presentation on the power. Now, Unity's co-founder Charles Fillmore developed this idea that we have 12 powers. Everybody has 12 powers that we have innately within us. Those powers are faith, strength, wisdom, love, dominion, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, elimination, and life. Now the idea behind each one of these powers, it was really neat, because he sort of matches them up with a disciple, with one of the 12 disciples, and he also matches them up with a color, and with a particular energy center in the body. It's very similar to the chakra system, and so studying it is really cool. And though I used a book for my own presentation called Power Up, this book is written by Paul Hasselbeck. Paul used to be the president of the school at Unity Village. So I've taken classes from Paul, and so Reverend Dale took a lot of classes from him. He also wrote Heart-Shaped Metaphysics. Book, you know that book? Yes. Used to see it a lot. Well, I don't see it so much anymore. We have that in the bookstore, is it? Yes, we do. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I decided to use Paul's book on the 12 powers for my presentation. And today we're going to talk about the power of strength, the power that you have inside of you right now already that is called strength. And I'm going to try to find some place to stand where everybody can see.
It's back here.
It worked in the early service, but it's not working now.
It's possible that the batteries are dead.
The green light's on.
Oh, okay.
Can you switch it from there?
Should be able to. Arrow should do it.
Okay, whoa, hang on now.
What?
Was that you or me?
That was me.
Okay. All right. The apostle that is associated with strength is Andrew, and it is located in the small of the back, and the color that is associated with it is spring green, and it is linked with the other power, faith. So each of the 12 powers will have one power, other power that's linked with it, that you can use together in accordance. And can we go to the next one, John? So what we want to do if we're going to talk about strength is we want to define strength and what we're talking about. So strength is the faculty of steadfastness, dependability, stability, and the capacity for endurance. And I'd like for you to all give yourselves a big hand right now. Yay me! Yay me! Because you have made it to here. You are 100%. You're here. You made it here. Who's had days they weren't sure they were going to get through? Who's had tough days? Who's had struggles? Who's had to endure? Who's had to do stuff that was really difficult? All of us. And you, we are 100%. We did it. So we have strength. We can find strength. We can find it. We are steadfast. We're dependable. We're stable. Is my wife here? Thank God. Okay. Most of the time we try to be stable, and we have the capacity for endurance. So we made it all this way. And next slide, John, please. So what we do with these powers is Paul in his book he gives you an idea of the ideal power, and then he talks about here's this power underdeveloped and this power overdeveloped. So his definition for underdeveloped strength is the inability to stick with a project or goal. A person with underdeveloped strength may flit from unfinished project to unfinished project. Now, what this made me think of when I read it was when I first started coming to Unity, and that was probably about 8 years ago, and there was a big thing that was going around at the time, say yes. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Say yes. Just say yes. And so I would come in and I'd be like, how are you doing? Just say yes. It was this big movement that was going on here. So I thought, wow, this is really neat. So I just started saying yes. So people would ask me to do this, and I'd say yes. People would ask me to do that, I'd say yes. Kyle, why don't you do this? I'd say yes. And so after a while, I started not showing up to one place because I was at another place, and then I was just way spread too thin. I told too many people that I would be in the same place at the same time, and I started getting really frustrated, and it just wasn't any fun. And I finally told Reverend Dale, I got to start saying no. I can't say yes anymore. This is crazy, because what's happening is I'm showing up, but I'm just only half there. I'm only 20% there. I'm only halfway there. I'm not showing up fully. And so I'm not getting the results out of things that I want because I'm not able to show up for them, because I'm spread too thin. And so I learned that I had to balance that out a little bit, and because I wasn't sticking to things. I wasn't getting things done. I wasn't showing up on time. I wasn't being dependable. And I was flitting around from one thing to the next and not getting anything done. And the only thing you can do whenever you realize that is stop. And next slide, please, John. So overdeveloped strength. And he says here, and or unbalanced strength. And I like that because we'll talk about it a little bit more. Being stubborn. I'm a Taurus. You're a Taurus in the back. My birthday was Thursday. Thank you. And I don't think I'm stubborn, but some people say I am. Unduly forceful, or perhaps obsessive compulsive. For example, this person may forge ahead with a plan even though everyone else realizes the futility of it. So there's a word here that's really important. It's the word futility. It's the word futility. Okay? Everyone else realizes the futility of it. So even with our first example, when we were talking about underdeveloped strength, now we're talking about overdeveloped strength. And I like that word futility because it tells me that I need to have an intention. So I may forge ahead with a plan even though everyone else realizes the futility of it. Even though everyone else realizes it's not going to get me what I want. I may not realize that, and I'll continue. So part of my practicum work for LUT was to go to 12-step meetings. So I went to some AA meetings, and I sat, and one of the things that I heard recovering alcoholics say, and I've heard this before in different places, they would say, my life is so much easier now. Being sober is so much easier than being drunk was.
Amen.
Okay? And so you start thinking about that. And then they expound on it. Well, I've got to get it. I've got to make sure I'm going to have more when I run out of this, or I got to make sure I don't ever run out. I got to know where I'm going to get the money to get the next one from. I got to not let Peggy see. I got to keep it. They hide it all over the place. They do all these things, and it's a full-time job. And so they're using so much strength. And the worse they are, the more strength they use. So, and I realize I may see a homeless person laying in the park on the sidewalk with a slice of pizza laying upside down on his stomach, passed out, and I realize this guy is really strong. He is exerting enormous, unimaginable amounts of strength in order to continue doing what he's doing. Even though everyone around him sees that it's futile. So, but this allows me, this thinking, this thought process allows me to see someone like that and understand that I'm looking at God. I see the strength. I see how strong you are. You see? So it's amazing. I see how strong you are. I see how much you can carry. I see it. No matter what the circumstances may present to me, because I got to see God in everybody, not just in the people that I like or the people that agree with me. I need to learn how to see God in everybody. So the biggest thing from this talk today that I really want to get across is that you already have within you strength. All the strength that you possibly need. You've already got it. I will ask you, how are you using your strength? How are you using your energy? And how can you better use your energy? Because we all have it. And as we did our classes out at the village, we were each other's audience. And all of them did a different power. And the one thing that just continued to come out through all the lessons was they're all just the same presentation. It's just we all have every one of these powers. It's just how are we using them? Are we consciously using them? Are we using them on purpose? Or are we still not awake? Are we not using them? Are we not living with intention? So, strength. Let's do the next slide, please, John. So, elevated consciousness, the ability to endure, stay the course, last, be persistent, persevere, and be stable based on ideas, truth principles, and laws that are divine in nature. We use strength to be persistent in being the best person and or Christ we can be. It's from Hasselbeck's Power Up. So there you go. That's how we be the best Christ we can be. We use strength. We use truth principles. We use these powers because we're awake, because we're Christ. Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. All right, let's go to the next one. This is me and my mom. I left here one Sunday in October, and I was on the way home, and my dad texted me a CAT scan that my mother had just gotten. And I read it, and I'm not being a doctor. I read it, and it basically said, "You're out of here." And so I immediately sent it to a couple of friends of mine who are doctors, and they agreed. And my mother passed away on Christmas Day this year. And I'm an only child, and I'm a mama's boy. Big time. I mean, real big time. So November and December was a nightmare. It was horrible. It was awful. It was terrible. Nobody ever told me that and I'm a professional musician. I play here on Sundays, but I also am a professional musician. Nobody ever told me when I was growing up, Kyle, you were going to go to One-Eyed Lizzie's Tequila Bar and Grill and entertain people while your mother is at hospice dying. Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever told me I would have to go play Hey Good Looking, knowing that my mother was 5 hours away in the hospice, and I was fixing to leave there when I got done with the gig and drive over there. She was going to leave. Nobody ever told me that. You ever feel like that? Yeah. Nobody ever told me this. Nobody ever told me that. Yesterday I was at a funeral for a guy that I grew up with, and it's a beautiful ceremony, and we all, at the end, everybody that was there went over and got a handful of dirt and put it in the hole. Man, when we were growing up playing together, if I would have known that was coming, I don't know what I would have done. You know, you don't see these things. So, how do we do these things that we can't do, that we don't feel like we can do? How do we face things that we don't feel like we can face? How do we do it? Some of the ideas are we got to take care of ourselves, we got to eat, we got to sleep, we got to stay hydrated, we got to stay prayed up, we got to stay around other people who are on the spiritual path. We have to have people in our lives who inspire us. We have to have all of that. Because we talk about oneness around here. And so I keep saying, you have the strength inside of you, all the strength inside of you. I have all the strength inside of me. Well, guess what? Sometimes I'm using your strength. Amen to that. Yeah. Why should I go to church? You know, that's why. Because I am using your strength sometimes. And sometimes when you come here, you're using my strength. Right? Yeah. Because it's not separate. The ideation of two is being erased in our consciousness. Erase it from the board. Erase two. There's not two, there's one. There's only one. My strength is your strength. Your strength is my strength. Our consciousness is the same consciousness. Yeah? And you better believe, for me to be able to stand up here and do this and not cry and lose it, we got a lot of strength in this room. A lot of strength. But I reserve the right to lose it later. Let's go to the next slide, John. So let's say some things together. We'll start with I am the light of God. I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. And let's say I am the strength of God. I am the strength of God. And let's take this idea into prayer once more. Take a deep breath and exhale. Let this out. So much energy in the room. I always thought, I always felt, I always believed that if there was a God, and if that God was anywhere, then God had to be everywhere. I always felt like, I always believed that if God was anything, God had to be everything. Everything. And that means God is me. That means God is you. That means God is all around us, the air that we breathe. God's our lungs. God is all and all is God. so blessed to be here together at Unity of Savannah, awakening, expanding in consciousness. And we are absolutely grateful today. Absolutely grateful. So we release this prayer knowing that we are strength, we are love, we are light, we are power, we are presence. We know that God is all and that God is good. God's expanding and moving forward. God's not going backwards. So we say, Amen. So, yes, thank you. I started to just show a Popeye cartoon. Oh, you like that, huh? Popeye and olive oil?
Chop wood,